Good day everyone, it is Caitlin and today we are making an 1880s silk skirt. Welcome, and yes, before we get started, I am fully aware that a few months ago I did very clearly say that you should not expect 1880s clothing on this channel because it's not my time period and I don't particularly enjoy it and I don't do a lot of events. And yet, yes, here we are. I got invited to a dinner and a dance. So, 1880s dress. So what we are doing now, we're going to do this in sections. It's not really going to be like one of the vlog type videos. We're just going to do each piece in the video. It's going to be the easiest way because there's lots of different parts to 1880s dresses, apparently. They really do, one thing for the 1880s, they do the whole mix match, interchangeable, multiple outfits with just a few pieces thing really well. Anyway, so we're going to use the same pattern for the skirt that we did last time because I already own it. And so that's the Truly Victorian's 1885 4-gore skirt or 5-gore skirt. It's what are the skirt pieces? 4-gore underskirt. So, yep. So what I have here, I'm dealing it with entirely stash fabric. Well, okay, not the dark green on top, but the outer fabric is going to be all stash fabric for this project. So this, I had 11 yards of silk voile, which is a very semi-sheer silk, very light, frothy, good for summer stuff. And I had 11 yards of it. It was supposed to be an 1850s tiered dress that was going to be bound in some really pretty pomegranate silk ribbon. And yeah, that was a project I had a hard time letting go, but I don't need an 1850s dress. I have lots of 1850s dresses. I need an 1880s silk dress, so here we are. Other than that, because the fabric was so sheer, and I wanted the green to kind of pop, so I bought this dark green cotton, and that's what we're going to line the whole thing with. We're just going to flat line everything. I don't think that's how we do things in the 80s, but I don't particularly care. I need to flat line it. I don't want to interline it because that's just going to be far too much fabric. So here we are. We are just lining with the dark green, and it's going to help the green pop a little bit because the overskirt for the ball dress that I'm making is going to be like a cabernet, purplish, reddish, wine-colored silk. And so I really want the green to pop. And then we're going to accessorize it slightly with some off-white florals and ribbons and that sort of thing. Or lace. It's going to be fancy. So we're going to start today with just the base skirt. So hopefully this won't take terribly long. We are going to put a ruffle on the bottom because it's the 1880s and why not? I like ruffles. But let's go ahead and get this cut out. So I have the front piece, the side piece, and the back piece, which is this one. And I'm cutting it out of the silk. I already, of course, have it cut out of the lining, and I'm using my lining now as my pattern pieces, which are going to match up nicely. And because I've already made this pattern, I know how it fits, and I know I had to take an inch or two off the hem because it was just too long, which doesn't surprise me. It's amazing how gray the silk looks when you put this green up next to it. It looked green before I actually put the dark green on top. Yeah, it's going to help it maintain a little bit of a darker green color as opposed to, just the brownish color. You see how brown it really doesn't show up on camera. There's a very distinctive brown shade when it's, 2 layers of voile on top of where it's on the green. It looks greener. And that's what I want. So that works out. And I knew putting it under white or over top of white was going to really wash it out, which I did not want to do. Pin all this together, and I'll probably just use whatever sewing machine I have out right now to sew it. I'm not entirely sure if that's the hand crank machine or the bonding machine. You know what I do need to do? I need to add a pocket somehow, somewhere. Actually on this seam right here, so I'm not going to put any pins there yet. We're going to need to cut a pocket. I'm so glad I thought about that now. And I know I have a nice pattern, pocket pattern. I have several nice pocket patterns, but I have one at least in the 1870s that is huge from Marna Davis's Lily pattern. So we might go pull that out and use that for a pocket. Especially when you're like at a dance, you have things like a fan and a dance card and, you know, things to keep up with. Pockets are helpful. I have a helper. He's not helpful, but he thinks he is. Okay. So I need to go, before I pin the rest of that, I need to figure that whole situation out and get my piece that I use for pockets. Do I want to close this up the side or do I want to close it up the back like the original does that I own? That's a question. Do I do it like the pattern or do I do it like the original? I'm sure Truly Victorian does some research and that sort of thing and based on historic processes, but some of the directions lead me to believe that they've been modernized, so I'm not fully trusting of her techniques. And I fully trust the lady who actually made her dress in the 1880s. Alright, so let's cut a ruffle. And I'm not going to bother cutting the actual ruffle. I'm just going to mark how big to make it. 1, 2, 3, and I'm using a much wider fabric than they're using, and they call for 5 ruffles. I'm still going to do the 5 ruffles. I'm just going to make it very ruffly. And yes, there's the helper. Okay. You'll murder paws. And it's a straight weave fabric, so it's going to rip. I'm going to sew these together whenever I sew everything else together. So the only thing I've actually sewn together is I accidentally cut the back piece, which was supposed to be cut on the fold, not on the fold. So I had to sew just the lining. I just did it for the lining. So I sewed the lining together, and that's all I've done so far. But I did find my pocket pattern. See, it's so huge. I love this thing so much. Best pocket pattern ever. Alright, sewing side seams together. And yes, I sew over pins. I do not recommend it. It is not generally a safe practice. And yeah, I have almost hurt myself with pins flying before, so don't recommend it. I'm just lazy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do, it's a dart. That's what I want to do. I want to do a dart. Did my other darts. And I'm not using the marked darts on the pattern simply because my hips and my waist require vastly different pattern numbers because I have larger hips and apparently a smaller waist. And so I'm like 4 pattern sizes smaller in the waist than the hips. So I cut to the hips because it's important that that fits. And then I just make up my own darts to make the waist fit. Skirt sewn together, I will need to iron that at some point. And then I think we're at the point where we can hem it. But what I can do is sew together this ruffle hem. I'm going to change the thread to gray for this. Gray is the closest thing I have to this. look awful. I can live with that. Okay. I'll keep going with this. I need to iron the skirt panels flat now that they've been sewn together and iron up a hem. Now we're at hemming the skirt. Alright, so I don't think I did very much. I tack that down like we discussed. I'm putting on the waistband. So I did the machine part since I've already shown y'all machine work for a while. So I was doing the back gauging part, which I just have 2 little threads to pull. I think. Oh, did I cut them in accident? Oops. Alright, there we go. That's not too bad. I can pull that. Okay. Get it all nice and the right size. Go ahead and tie this off somehow. And I'll keep these strings because I like to reuse them. And then it's just moving all the gathers around to make it even-ish. It's got to fit over a Bustle, so it needs to be even. And my original hand whipped that, but those are not very big gathers. I think I can probably just machine stitch over them, which I wasn't expecting, but that's less work, so I'm going to go with it. Feels fairly even all the way around. Alright, that one will get machine sewn, and then we're going to come and hand whip it on the back side, back side. At which point we'll be ready for the ruffle. I am dyeing the silk ribbon currently. Hopefully it's not going to turn out too yellow. I just need it barely off-white. And we're well on our way to having a finished skirt. Finishing the last of this waistband. At which point I'm going to put closures on. Take a break to go to sleep because it's late. And start again tomorrow. I'll finish the ruffle, which really isn't that bad. I did dye the ribbon. It may have turned out yellow, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that, or if I just need to dye more ribbon, because I do have extra ribbon. I just hate that that happened to it. But we'll see when it dries. When it dries, it may turn out to be fine. We'll find out. I was going to dye some ribbon burgundy too, or the Cabernet color to trim with. So I might over dye that with the Cabernet, and that way it's not wasted. So like right there. Okay. So I can move this up, moving my hook. Okay. Alright, skirt is done. I mean, we still have again the ruffle put on, but the base skirt is done. That works. I can live with that. Okay. I guess ruffle it is now. Alright, so we are working on this ruffle. I've actually got quite a bit of it attached to the dress already. I'm doing it in sections because I don't have enough pins to do the whole thing. So I did one section and we're going to do the second section together. when I get a bit done, I'll go ahead and show you. I went to, of course, this is what I've been doing. I went to iron down the pleat so it looks all nice and crisp. And so what I've been doing is just, of course, to take the fabric. Actually, I need a pin in my mouth. Hang on. Pin the bottom. Pin the top. Keep this pin in my mouth. Basically, I'm pinning the bottom and the top, and then I'll go iron the whole thing down really flat with a lot of steam. Really get that crease in there. And then we'll be ready to sew it onto the dress. Alright, we're at the point where I've ironed down like we talked about. And I am just merely pinning it to the skirt edge. So I'm making it even with the hem. This is the hem over here. Just every couple of pins, you know, not anything too drastic. I'm not moving every pin. Like every other pin, just to make sure it's stuck to the skirt pretty good. I dyed the ribbon. This is attempt number 3 to dye the ribbon. It still came out a little darker than I wanted it to. I wanted it just barely off-white. This is more of an ivory, but this is much better than the other two. So the first ribbon I tried to dye, I put the ivory dye in. I just didn't realize that apparently there was some blue dye left in the pot from the last time I dyed. And ivory plus blue, by the way, turns a really nice seafoam green-ish blue. It's like blue, but it's like that seafoam shade. Anyway, really pretty. Just not what I wanted for the project. In my second attempt, I tried just using the ivory dye. Well, something's going on with the ivory dye. It turned it bright yellow. So, at that point, I was like, okay. Obviously, using dye isn't going to do me any good. So, I got out some tea, and I boiled some tea, and I tea dyed the more ribbon. So I now have a length of blue ribbon, a length of yellow ribbon, and this. And this was the best option. So this is what we're using. I am going to also dye some ribbon Cabernet. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I haven't decided whether I want to do the front or the back lacing. This is going to be a back lace bodice. Later on. Next month, or yeah, I think this next month that video is going to come out. I haven't decided whether I'm going to lace that with Cabernet ribbon, because the back of the bodice is going to be Cabernet, or do with the cream and let it kind of stick out a little bit and pop. I just haven't made that decision yet. Anyway, I'm just over here hand stitching ribbon on, because it's going to make the ribbon look better with a hand stitching on than to do by machine. I'm just covering the stitching line. Going to the top, making a tiny stitch. Going to the bottom, making a tiny stitch. Going back to the top to make a tiny stitch. And that's basically my pattern. So that's what it looks like when it's done. Alright, let's try on a skirt. So I am pleased with how it turned out. I'm glad I remembered to add the pocket. So nothing else is done, so we're just going to see the skirt, of course. I hate doing skirts when I can't see the closure. Connected, they're just not staying. There it goes. Okay. bustle around. And then that's the side seam. There we go. All right, there we are. I mean, everyone knows how I feel about the 1880s. It's not my favorite, but okay, that could have been about an inch higher, but that's not bad. Okay. I mean, the hem's even all the way around, so that's super helpful. And put the camera down. Here we are. Back, the little bustle. Ruffle is super cute. I mean, that's just such like an 80s thing to do. I'm not wearing any shoes, so it's like going down quite far. I don't even know what shoes I'd wear for these. Surely I don't wear boots. You'll have to figure out shoes at a different point. I don't know if slippers or ball slippers have heels at this point. I feel like you shouldn't have heels if you're dancing. I'll have to look into that. But it's about where it needs to lengthwise. Fits over the bustle nicely, which is what it should do. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera, but the fabric almost has like an iridescent quality to it, like it's almost like a shot silk. And I think it's because I did the very bright cotton on bottom, and so like if it pulls away from the cotton, it gives like a little gray look, or if the fabric folds on in itself, it gives you more of a gray look. But then when it's flat against the cotton, it looks greener. So it really kind of shimmers as you walk, which is a really cool effect that I was not expecting. So yeah. I mean, yes, I'm wearing my 1860 chemise today. Yes, I have my modern hair on today. And yes, the sewing room is a mess. Usually when I film these inting things, I have a whole bunch of projects done all at once, and I just film them all at once. So I clean the sewing room so I can film. You get me mid-project because I am like a week and a half away from having to wear this, and I still don't have a bodice or an overskirt or an apron or accessories. And so you get me mid-stream. And yeah, I probably could have finished the whole thing and then filmed it one at a time. But where's the fun in that? Might as well just get it all done, right? I should probably go ahead and start cutting some other stuff out and getting to sewing because I need to get this stuff done. So I will let you go. If you enjoyed the video, if you want to see more of this whole 1880s ensemble as it comes out, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, and as always, have a fantastic week, and I'll see you back here on Monday.